Right, hello. So what I thought I'd do on this stream is show the FLIR. Now, unfortunately, because obviously this records to its own thing, it's going to be pretty impractical to try and hold this up to the webcam and show you footage that way, but I still do want to try that. So hello to everybody. I'll start looking at the chat in a minute. So you might be able to just about see through that, but it's probably going to be too bright. You can just see my face there, I think. I am glowing quite a lot, aren't I? Hello. Yeah, you can see me glowing under the thermal there. So what I'll try doing is let me just change the brightness settings on this and maybe the color palette, and we'll then give it another go. Obviously, I'm not going to hold this up to the camera for the entire stream, but I thought we could talk about this a fair bit today because I'll be doing quite a few FLIR videos now. I'm still going to be doing gas mask videos and everything. Don't worry about that. It's just because I bought the FLIR with money from donators, so big thanks to all them. Obviously, I'm going to be starting to do videos of this as well, but these will just be extra videos. I've said about that before, rewarding name. It's completely pointless to buy that now because I've got a Night Fox, which is far better specs than the Soviet night vision, much more compact, and it doesn't damage your eyes. The Soviet stuff, supposedly. Also, apologies if I seem a bit tired. It's because I've just had a nap again after doing stuff. The Soviet stuff apparently causes eye damage if you look through it for too long. I don't know if that's true, but I could believe that, where apparently, you know, some of the kind of stuff that shines into your eye. Right, you're going to roast a marshmallow, you Peach. Right, let me have a just look on the brightness settings for this. Let me put the brightness to about halfway, and let me change the color color palette. Oh dear. Right, now I've put on the setting where the hottest things glow yellow. A lot of the Soviet night vision I've seen still costs like 50 to 70 pounds on eBay. Oh, there we go. Look, I'm orange face now. I'm doing a Trump impression. But yeah, there you go. That's what the FLIR would look like that. That's my face with the orange. Yeah, so £100 very expensive because for what it is. Because for that you can buy a Night Fox, and the Night Fox is much better and safer for you to use. Right, there is a Predator color actually on this one. They do have the FLIR template they used on Predator. Just a second, let me find it. I think that one is the color wheel one. I think this is the Predator one. Hang on. It's where everything's if I can get that lined up properly with the thing. It's like where everything's yellow and red and everything like that. Let me just see if I can show you all the palettes. So that's white hot, black hot, white hot but with orange for the hottest bits. Then the same thing but more and more orange on each one, just so you can see things easier, but it means you see too much orange normally on those. Then I think that's iron, that one. Lava. Can't remember what this one's called, but it's where it's a bit more green and stuff like that. Oh, rain, yeah, that's it. Then color wheel, the one I was just on. Then back to white hot. What you on about that scene in The Predator? The only Predator I know is the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. I can't even remember Predator 2. Can't remember it or want to remember any of the Aliens versus Predators. You know. So what blasphemy is this? What would happen, Simon, is the bits of the mask that get the hottest would start changing colour, and then you'd probably see the exhale valve getting the hottest. I'll do a video of that. The only annoying thing is the FLIR doesn't actually have a camera mount on it. So I can't actually put this on a tripod at all. But I'm sure I can find a surface in the house where I can sit it up enough. you know, like that flat, and then I can do stuff in front of it. I can't even remember Predator 2. But yeah, basically with the FLIR, it's hard. It's mostly for like night vision stuff. But yeah, in theory, I can do a video showing you gas masks and things like that. All right now. I don't know, Potato Farmer. I think chlorine gas might technically sterilize the wound, but I suppose if enough got on it would poison you, but I really don't know about that. But basically, gas is bad regardless, you know. Let me just flick my Steam list offline because I don't want people PMing me on there. All right, Richard. Yeah, the point I was making about the old-fashioned night vision, and I've shown this before, is I've got this one, right? The Night Fox. This does the exact same stuff the Soviet stuff does that you can buy on eBay for 100 quid. These models are under 100 quid now. They're safer for you to use at your end, much lighter, obviously. The batteries will last a lot longer because they're not the giant things with the massive IR throwers. The IR thrower for this is that bit there. And this has light amplification. It can record video and everything as well. I've, you know, done a load of videos of this one before. It's a lot more primitive than the FLIR because it's just a Gen 0 night vision like that Soviet stuff is. The FLIR is obviously thermal. It's not even technically night vision as we think of night vision. But yeah, the reason I'd never buy the Soviet stuff, takes up a shitload of space and not necessarily safe to use. And it's more expensive than one of these. So what's the point? That's good, Slingshot. But yeah, what I would do though, if some of the Soviet stuff or American stuff or whatever turned up, you know, like the kind of green night vision stuff, the like proper light amplification night vision, then I'd get some of that if that was at a decent price. Because I want some actual green night vision, but there seems to be none of that on the market, which is really weird. Because in America, that's not a problem, right? Because I guess because enough people do hunting and shooting in America, there's oh yeah, don't forget to like the stream, everybody. Oh, a load of my interface has disappeared for this stream. What's going on? That's strange. I've just noticed, sorry, that like loads of the buttons, like I can't change the live chat and top chat. So I'm stuck on one, so I'm probably going to miss a load of comments. Thanks, YouTube. A load of my other options aren't there. Let's see if I can just change the interface from the other screen. Is that going to fix anything? The problem is I don't know if I F5 this now, if it will just break the stream because YouTube. I'm hoping it doesn't break the stream, but you never know. Yeah, don't forget to like it. I can't remember if I said that just now, but I'm just getting annoyed at YouTube that they've changed the interface again and it, yeah, keeps breaking. Oh, this has really annoyed me now. All right, it's Doug. But yeah, so basically, I'll do some more videos of the FLIR. If you haven't seen the 2 FLIR videos I've put up so far, definitely watch them. But the important thing to obviously understand with a FLIR is that it's thermal. It's not light amplification, it's thermal. It can see in the complete dark. If you want, I can actually show you that now, just to prove it. Right. Okay, so let me flick the lights off. You'll get a bit of light from the screen anyway, but I think I'll still be able to prove it to you like this. So, right. Obviously, you would be able to see me a bit because of light from the screen, but let me just flick the FLIR back on. And then again, it's not perfect trying to put this up to the camera because obviously it's designed as like a binocular eyepiece because it's a monocular. But okay, see if I put that there, so you can see me just as well. Oh, that looks cool with the glasses on. There we go. I'll run you through the color palettes. It actually looks a bit better, I think, in the dark. Hang on. Let me line it back up the screen. Okay, so white hot, black hot. If I can line that up again. This is just really annoying to line up the webcam. That's the issue. So that was Black Hot, if I can. I hate trying to line these up. All right, Black Hot. The Amber Alert or Orange Alert, whatever they call it. The second level of orange, third level of orange. Lava, I think that is. Iron, I think, someone after lava. Then rain. Which look a bit weird, doesn't it? And then the full color spectrum one, but of course it's still technically. That's weird. Look at this. My lips are blue. What temperature? See that on there? So blue's warm, dark blue is warm, but yellow is warmer. Now, because yeah, the interesting thing is glass defeats. Oh, that does look weird with my eyes, doesn't it? Hello, sunshine. Yeah. And just to show you something interesting, if I hold this up in front of my face, you'll see that you can see the temperature of the mug I've got there. If I go back to white hot, so you can see, because I've got coffee in the mug, that's even warmer than everything else. Right, I'll flick the light back on now. But yeah, the point is that FLIRs can work in total darkness because they don't actually see light at all. They they work, as I said, on a thermal level. All right, Mike. All right, good. You saw the FLIR bit then. Yeah, it's really good, but obviously it's still getting used to it at the moment. And also with FLIRs, the colder the weather is outside, the better you can see animals with them. Because when I went out with it last night, although it was a bit harder to navigate last night because it was really dark, animals obviously glowed more because the temperature was cooler. When I went out this afternoon with it, because it doesn't make a difference to the FLIR if it's light or dark outside. Like a lot of night vision, if it's light, you can't use it. But the problem is with the FLIR, if it's a hot day, I could notice this quite easily. There was a field with some crows in, and I filmed this. Some of the crows were sitting on a wire, like that at that height, and some of the crows were on the floor. The crows on the ground, because the sun had been shining on the ground all day, they didn't glow anywhere near as much as the ones on the wire did, because their body heat is kind of being masked by the heat on the ground. Tango Zulu. So Night Vision Store, is that just the name of the site? Night Vision Store. Nightvisionstore.co.uk. Right, I'll bookmark that then, because night vision binoculars is what I'd want, I guess. Right, I'll bookmark this, thanks, because yeah, I hadn't actually found any sites that were selling genuine night vision before. There's a lot of the places, where I'd found stuff before was where they were just selling, like Gen Zero stuff, but claiming it was night vision. Although technically, I think some of the ones on here are. Yeah, I think you still need to be careful buying on here, to be honest, because some of these look like they're the cheaper ones mixed in with the more expensive ones. So yeah, thanks for the link, but yeah, I still need to be quite cautious what I buy. The issue is, though, that annoys me, if FLIRs are now in the £400 to £600 range, because I got this for £400 new just with a damaged box, that's why it was 400, not 600. It seems silly lots of night vision companies can't get their prices that low, because technically thermal optics are more expensive than night vision optics because of what they do. Are the wall ones on the wall, the SLR? What about Beastery or B-Store Defiant? I think he just has the old Soviet stuff on there, doesn't he? If he's got anything. I have no idea what you're on about, Dark Owl. Oh, in terms of the things, I don't even know what the breach is. Is that a FLIR breach? Is that a different model? You'd have to watch reviews where people have got, I think, each one. But the thing is with like this one, this is kind of good enough, but I'd say personally, you can't really navigate with one of these at night. It's good enough for spotting people, but also it's going to come down to a lot of situational factors like all these things. Because the thing is, if it's winter or it's cold, you can spot somebody really easily with one of these. You can actually see them through there, 100 yards plus. When I was testing it earlier, bigger objects like planes and that, you can see about out to a mile because, they're hot enough and all that you can see them. But the issue is that from when I was watching videos of some of the different FLIR, like actual sensors or whatever, people had lined up next to each other and done a video with, the actual detecting range and everything is like the same on all of them. It's just the resolution's better on the higher, more expensive models, to the point you can work out what the glowing thing is sooner, because you can make out the shape a bit earlier. But I'd say trying to navigate with a FLIR is still pretty difficult. That's where I think like the old green night vision is probably better. So yeah, that's my input. That's all I can tell you. I like the Scout so far, but obviously it does have its drawbacks. And there's lots of videos on YouTube where people compare things like Scouts to green night vision, and they try and explain some of those things. But as I don't have the, I'm getting spammed with stuff again because I've not put aeroplane mode on. There we go. Yeah, I haven't used the breach, so I don't know what that would be like, but I imagine the detection range and everything is still going to be the same as the Scout. I don't think there's going to be much difference in that. Also, another thing I found, FLIR do the exact same thing, but also called the Ocean Scout. From everything I can tell, has 2 gig storage like this one for videos and photos, same sensors and everything. Some sites sell the FLIR Ocean Scout if they've got it in for cheaper than this model. That's just worth bearing in mind, because if you're going to buy one, you might as well then get the Ocean Scout and save a bit of money. But he's not been banned, Shackleton, and it was Weapon Collector. You can see the thing there. I'm just going to point something out to people because we say this on every stream, but people don't listen. Cheers, Antonia. And you've been on here long enough, Shackleton, you should know this, right? That if somebody's getting in trouble because they're spamming messages or whatever, don't say, what happened to this person or whatever, because you're encouraging people that are actually trolling to keep coming back because you're giving them attention. So, as I've said before, just don't do that. I think Simon was just spamming the chat, to be honest, which is why Mike's given him a timeout with just random messages, but it doesn't help us nothing. Yeah, these FLIRs are really good, and it is nice now, obviously, that as a civilian, you can buy a thermal optic for like the £400 to £600 range, $500 $600 range in the US. Because obviously, if you go back a couple of years ago, FLIRs were stupidly expensive for things that weren't even as good as the Scout. Obviously, the stuff that's on like military and police helicopters is way better than these, but it does kind of show that there's actually a market emerging for these now, which is nice. Although I think technically the FLIR Scout's been around a while, it's just not been all that commonly sold over here. See if mine had a production date on it, but I can't see one. I would get some more Italian gas masks, Antonio, but sadly I've not seen any really on eBay. I've got that Spaziani that's very good, and I also bought one for Mike as a present because Spaziani is really good. But like in terms of Italian World War II and Cold War masks, for some reason they rarely seem to turn up on eBay. for me anyway when I look, and when they do, they're very expensive what they are. If you're in America or not in Europe, just don't bother trying to get FP5 filters. That's what your problem's going to be. See if you can find Chinese or Russian modern filters, like not old GP5 filters, I mean like the actual modern ones with better shipping rates. From Russia, probably not, because a lot of Russian sellers like essentially scam on postages, which is why I don't have a lot of modern Russian equipment, because fuck off, I'm not paying £30 to £50 postage on a small item. But in terms of Chinese filters, you might be able to get like AliExpress or somewhere to send those to you for like $10 or something, and they'd be safe to use and everything. Go on eBay and type in MM1 mask. There you go. All the ones I got are on eBay, and if you search the name on eBay, still loads of results. So anybody saying, especially in England or Europe, they can't find MM1s, just hasn't looked for them. Oh, that's good, Richard. Which, with the one you ordered, is it coming with the satchel or a filter or anything? Because I think I said to you in the comment, the issue I had was, it's not a massive issue, but... So, right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, Gamer Go. I'm going to go on eBay now. I'm going to find you an MM1. If you ever make a comment like this again, I'm blocking you. But I am just going to do it, because otherwise I'll eat my hat, figuratively, just to prove that, yep, here we go, you didn't look. There we go. You didn't look, did you? MM1 gas mask. Oh, look, they're there. So anyway, going back to Richard, with a proper comment. Because I literally, with most gas masks, Shackleton, on eBay, all you do is type the name of the mask, gas mask, or respirator. Results come up. Now, yeah, for some people, they may not be in a country where that will ship to them or whatever, because I've had that before. Sometimes you have to use a different eBays. But in general, when you get somebody saying, I can't find this mask, can't find that mask, I just don't think they bothered looking. Yeah, Simon, just don't use the filter. Get a real mask. Don't put the filter on. You're completely safe. Oh no, Shackleton, don't start this again. Right, so yeah, Richard, what we're saying about these masks is, yeah, it's definitely me behind inflating the prices of masks, isn't it? Because if I give a mask a good review, it causes all masks to go up in price. But yeah, basically with the MM1, not the MM1, the Spaziani, I bought one when you could get a couple for low 30s, and I think a couple of people on eBay YouTube had told me to get one on eBay before then, and I'd never bothered, so I could have probably got them a bit cheaper. Oh, that's good. You actually got it for £29. Oh, that's very good, because I was going to say, when I got mine, it was like low 30s, and that was from a UK seller. Or at least they had some in stock in the UK, so it came in like 2 days, and it was in its satchel, but the satchel was a bit too small for it, really, but still, I don't mind a free satchel, even if it's a low-quality one. It came with a sealed filter, which I've not bothered opening, and the mask. When I got Mike's one, I had to pay closer to £40. I think it was still in the £30 region, but that was for the mask and just the filter, because I couldn't find a seller with any of the bags left, you know, they were comboing it all together. But yeah, good, Richard, that you've got them for that price. I'm glad. For that price, they are very good. Because, yeah, polycarbonate face piece, so obviously you won't scratch up the face piece too easily. Same stuff that Riot Shields use. You know, nice, comfortable rubber seal. Interesting thing, Peach, is if you had one of these, fire is really interesting for a FLIR, as you might have seen in the video I put up earlier. I've done a video with the fishing waders and the Polish NBC suit that's sort of homemade. It's just a couple of minutes long. Just seeing what's going on out there. Some of these dogs barking quite loud, but not even with a FLIR. You can't look for a glass window with one. I get asked about that a lot, and I'm not buying one of the commercial type ones because with ghillie suits, right, there's a couple of things you can get. You can get cheap ones that are just really, really shit. You know, like they'll fall up to pieces really quickly, or they don't really do much. Then you get the ones that are very, very expensive and quite good, but they're just so much money, you know, I wouldn't want to spend that. Or if you wanted to make your own, you could basically just get a camo uniform, and then you could just rip up a load of scrim net and just stitch the scrim net on, and that would work just as well as a proper ghillie suit, because that's essentially what a ghillie suit is. But no, I don't have one. The thing is with a ghillie suit, somebody has one of these, doesn't hide you at all. That's interesting. The scrim stuff on my Mark 7 helmet cover is pretty good. Because it's the Mark 7 helmet cover, which is technically a Mark 6 large MTP cover. Then they've ripped up either a shirt or some trousers in MTP or whatever, stitched those on at random angles, and then stitched on a load of scrim net. So you've got, you know, like a properly good sort of, you know, 3D kind of helmet effect. Right, cool, Mike. I've done the helmet tests on Zombot, not the stab test one. It was one video, and that's scheduled for like a month's time. Because what I did was some of the videos I did with you, I've put them. I'm going to put them up sooner. Some of them I'll put up scheduled. It's just because this week I didn't have enough time to do more videos, so I wanted to just do one of your videos. You know, I did with you later on in the month. Now I've got a spot there that keeps bleeding, so when I see the doctors on Monday, I'm just going to ask him, can he cut the bloody thing off? I don't know, Peach, I never trust you with what you ask me to search. If you say kicking Mustang, for all I know, that's going to be a porno involving horses or cars. So, you know, sorry, Peach, you've ruined our credibility with you in terms of, right, he's a YouTuber, is he? Yeah, but see, this is a problem. It's a bit of a boy who cried wolf problem, isn't it, Peach? That right, I will have a look if other people are. Hang on, Peach. Who is it on Mike's things that's always... I'm not going to say on YouTube because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but Richard will confess to what... Nah, it won't go away with Kareem Iron Man. It needs cutting off. But I'm not going to keep talking about that anyway, but it's just pissing me off anyway. Like I said, but people keep bringing it back up as well, so... I don't want to get in a bad mood on the stream, but... Yeah. But I will have a look at that, Peach, and if that is a legit thing. If I could spell, which I can't at the moment. That's a pretty good ghillie suit. Although all these titles are horrible clickbait things, so I'd never support his channel. But yeah, it's a good ghillie suit, so I'll give him that. But that's essentially because it's a proper made ghillie suit, not a cheap one, isn't it? Cheers, Iman. I didn't mean people were necessarily asking that today. It's just with that, like, mole or whatever it is, I've got that to be cut off. It's not just on YouTube, though. I get, like, people I know going, oh, that's bleeding. Do you know that? When I've not got the plaster, I'm like, yes, I fucking know it's bleeding. How am I going to get rid of it? You know, it's that sort of thing. Right, let me put this on for you, Iron Man, so you can have a look through this. I demonstrated a bit earlier in the video the lights off. It's not perfect through the webcam, obviously, because it's better if I just record things to it and then put them on the computer that way, like I did with the videos. USB bit under there. Put it into your computer to charge it, or take the files off, plug it into the electricity to charge it. So there's me, white hot look. black hot. White hot with orange on the hottest bits. Now it just adds more orange for different colours. I'll just click through the other colour gradients pretty quickly now. But that one looks really creepy. It looks like somebody who's got like some sort of horrible illness. Oh, get that back. Then there's the Predator one. Back to white hot. But yeah, it's nice that as a civilian you can get stuff like this now at a fairly decent price. It's better and not as good Iron Man. It depends in which way you're using it. You can use it like night vision, but the issue with something like this is because it's a monocular, so it's slightly zoomed in, it's got a very narrow field of view. It's very hard to actually walk around at night, like that, comfortably. And another issue of using these as night vision, this is true of a lot of night vision devices, but say you're in a field and you put it up to spot something, you look through it, you can spot stuff perfectly fine, you work out where stuff is, you put that down, your natural night vision in your eye has been ruined because you've looked into a bright screen. But yeah, you could certainly use it for stuff like that, Iron Man. Yeah, it sounds like it, Peach, but obviously it's just white hot is where the hottest things show up white. Black hot is where the hottest things show up black. It's just inverting the same gradient. But cheers, JBO Bushcraft. It was a really nice day as well. Oh, evening as well. But yeah, it was a really good day for both of us because I just drove down to his about... What time did I get there, Mike? Was it about 11 a.m. or so, I think? Because I think it was just under an hour's drive, even with the traffic not being brilliant. And then, yeah, we did quite a few videos and that. It's good. No, you do look like a burn victim, random AI. You look a bit like in Chernobyl, don't you, when they go all red? That's what I was thinking of, actually, yeah. It looks like I've been 3.6 Röntgened. But yeah, it's just because you get... That's the nice thing of the FLIR. There's... because there's a different colour palette, you'll sometimes find... In theory, Iron Man, you might be able to. I've seen some other like night vision devices that have the helmet mounts, or just the ones that are like cap mounts, where you've got the thing where you can pull it down or up. It worked quite well, but the nice thing of this is it has got a lanyard on it. So whenever I'm walking around with it, I've just got the lanyard on, because that's how they recommend to do it. And then, yeah, if you want to put it up to your eye, you just do that, obviously with the cap off, and then that's it. I haven't read all the documents on my end, but from what I've heard from other channels reviewing this, so bear in mind they might be wrong, it's meant to be shockproof to 2 meters, which I'm not going to test, obviously, because I've paid for this. So, if you dropped it, as long as you didn't drop it from a height above 2 meters, it shouldn't break, because that's why it's got that, like, rubberized hard plastic case. And in terms of waterproof, I think as long as it doesn't go into really deep water, it's meant to be waterproof for something like 30 minutes. So the idea is, like, as long as you fish it out pretty quickly and dry it, it's not going to go wrong. Again, I would never want to test that, but they seem to have built these to be pretty rugged. As you can see, there's literally, like, no exposed electronics. The only bit is if you get the cover off here, and it's a really tight cover to get off. You can't really do it easily with your finger for the USB. That's where there's the USB port. And then, yeah, you've just got the eyepiece at that end, and then under this rubber seal, you've got the sensor. No, about 200 grams. So very light. Very, very light. You can have this on your neck and you barely feel it. Much lighter than binoculars or normal binoculars. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do more videos of it, Iron Man. After the stream, my mum wants me to actually go out in the garden and check if there's any rats trying to get under a fence, because she says she often hears noises out there at night, so that's easy to do. But yeah, if you look at the videos I've done with it, Iron Man, I put one on today and one on yesterday. That will give you some idea of what it's like. Obviously, the issue with them is it's quite low resolution and everything. It's not really a problem when you're using it. I think the display's 480p on here, and it's quite small, so it looks fine when you're looking through it. But I think when it renders to video, it's actually 240p, and then when I just render them as a video, you know, to YouTube, I make it 480p that way. So I'm upscaling it. But obviously, you're not going to get like really good high definition thermal stuff for this. But you wouldn't unless you paid like 20 grand for a thermal camera anyway. That would be really interesting, Iron Man, because it's the heat, you see. Supposedly, Richard, from a full charge to a full discharge, about 5 or 6 hours from the different reviews I've read of it. When I've given it a full charge, I've only seen the battery indicator go down like 10% at most when I had it out for like an hour and a half today. So that gives you some indicator. You know, so it's a lithium-ion battery. The only issue is with the batteries in these, supposedly, is if you want the battery to be replaced, you have to send it off and pay FLIR to do it if it's outside of the warranty, which it probably will be. But the good thing, at least with lithium-ion batteries, I've yet to have one that's ever completely drained and never, you know, recharge. I've had them before where after a few years the charge goes down pretty quickly. If you're like me and want to be cheap, you can probably get this to last you ages and ages, because in theory, lithium-ion batteries should last pretty much forever. It's just that due to like charging cycles and lots of other things, they kind of do degrade a bit. The thing is, I think fireworks might look quite like what they do to human eye, because obviously if it's burning stuff, it would still appear the same. Buy a full body raincoat, Alpipero. You know, like waterproof trousers, waterproof jacket, that kind of thing. As long as it's waterproof, it would act like an NBC suit does. Right, I'll show you the stuff it came in, Iron Man, because this is the funny thing. You'll see why I got £200 reduced off it. It comes in one of these. And this is why mine was discounted £200. Because of that. What a bloody good saving that was. So, yeah, the retail price for these in the UK, although the RRP is meant to be £600, they're normally like £600 to £700 on most shops. This one was £399 just because of that tear to the thing. Completely brand new. It's not all the, like, the wrapping around it. So then it comes in this. That I can't even open now. Yeah. And then this is full of foam, basically. It's like a foam coffin inside this. I could get a hard case for it, but I don't really need one at the moment. It sits in my drawer, and nothing's going to damage it in there. And I said when I take it out like they specify you do it. So, you know. Yeah, I know the ones you mean, Iron Man. That's like saying I might get one at some point, but because I store it in my drawer, I just wrap the lanyard around it and put it straight in the drawer. Because obviously it's designed to be used and abused. That's the point of a FLIR. Some of the other brands of thermal camera, yeah, I would not want to, you know, even look at them the wrong way because they're just cheapo plastic. But Peach. But yeah, it's just the seller had listed this one as brand new, but, you know, like production floor or whatever, and it was, you know, the box is damaged. And I was expecting worse damage to the box than what I got for the £200 they knocked off. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to see if more sellers on eBay do stuff like that. Of you know, here's the stuff that we don't really want to sell full price because there's a little tear in the box. Right, randomly, I'm going to try and think of some. If you're trying to use it to spot people, the hotter the country is all the environment, and if it's a hot day, right, cool, Peach, that's good. That took a while to come to you because you bought the shirt before I did, didn't you? And I got my hoodie and mug really quickly. Yeah, it was saying to people were saying to me, Iron Man, on the video I did of it, they were saying, you know, like, is this even legal in the UK? But the funny thing is, despite our very restrictive weapon laws, the UK has no laws whatsoever on civilian ownership of like night vision and thermal equipment. Lots of countries do, but not in the UK, which is, but you know, it's good. But downsides to it. So yeah, it's hard to navigate using this alone at night, simply due to the reason that it's a monocular. So you've got a slightly zoomed in, very narrow field of view. Obviously, you've only got one eye sort of seeing it. You could do it, but I wouldn't recommend it. I just recommend using a dim torch if you want to navigate at night, like, you know, like a red dim torch to navigate by. If it's a hot day, it's harder to spot things. Oh, you got it on today. Sorry, Peach, I misread that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, don't forget the merch, people. I've got my hoodie over there, but so yeah, if it's a hot day, you're going to have a harder time spotting threats with it. So yeah, there you go. There's the hoodie. It's in all the videos I did with Weapon Collector. But and yeah, there's the mug. No, apparently, JBO, these aren't made to withstand like the shock, repeated shock of a firearm. You could definitely use it on a thing once or twice, but there's no crosshair on it. But you can obviously use it to spot something and then bring up your gun sight anyway. So you had an IR one with an IR illuminator. FLIR do thermal scopes with like crosshairs on them, but I think they're again more expensive than this, even though it's like the same sort of sensors in them. But yeah, what I was saying is if it's a hot day, it's harder to spot people with it because obviously what they see is the difference in temperature between things. Yeah, it depends, man. It's also what you prefer using because this has all the different color palettes. I find sometimes in different areas, different color palettes show things up better. It's nice. You can just quickly flick between them with a button. You press that button to go down a color pattern, color palette, and then when you're pressing it, if you press that one, you go up color palette. So you can, you know, just go through all the color palettes if you want to. But yeah, I was saying this earlier in the video. There's a video I've not uploaded yet, but I filmed earlier of me using it in the day. It was quite warm out today, probably like 24C, 25C where I was. And there were some crows. The crows on the electric wire, you could see easily because obviously they're warm against the sky. The crows sitting on the ground, even though you could see them very easily with your eye, because the ground was hot from the sun hitting it, you could barely see them with a FLIR. You could still see the movement of them, but obviously they didn't, like, you know, glow as a color. So yeah, there are downsides to this. I think it's why a lot of militaries are trying to make hybrid things between thermal and like light amplification goggles. But in terms of what this has the potential to do, I think there's more upsides and downsides. It's frozen on me once so far, but all you have to do is hold down the power button. It turns off in about 2 seconds, then hold the power. I'll show you how fast it turns on as well, just because it's a really fast turn on. So let me just get this ready. So it's turned off right at the moment. If I put it up there where you should be able to see the screen, right, I'm going to press the power button on. It should pop up FLIR. There we go. It's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So it takes maybe 7 seconds to turn on, which isn't bad because some night vision devices like this, you know, have a slow power on period. Apparently, if these stay cool, that's good, JBO, because apparently if the sensors themselves start getting hot, you get a bit of static on the screen because obviously it's seeing its own heat. See you, Craft. If it's raining, though, that would make the environment cold, and this is obviously waterproofed, especially against rain. If it's cooling a person down, it might do, but it might make them like a speckled pattern. It'd be interesting. I don't actually completely know, to be honest. It would have an effect on what you'd see, but I don't know if it would help or hinder it. In the video I put on today, I did the thing where I put my hand under the cold water tap, which is really weird to watch. I had it set to, you know, the hottest setting being orange, and then otherwise it was white hot. So the water comes down as like black water, it looks like black goo. You put your hand in it, and then your hand goes from being orange to being white. And then as you take your hand out of the water, you see the orange spreading back up your hand again, which is, you know, like really cool. Another thing you can do with this, which is a really practical thing for a lot of people, is check your insulation. You can find if there's like bits in your house where the insulation isn't very good. All right, cool. I'll watch that after the stream. Thanks, Mike. There's some other practical things as well. You can also find out if any of the electronics in your house are like stupidly hot. Like my router for the internet, that gets stupidly hot, because if I go in my room and look around the room with this, that's the hottest thing in the room, hotter than my PC actually. Also, the airing cupboard door down there, I can see the glow coming around the door from it, because it literally is telling me, yeah, it's hot. And another thing that's really interesting you can do with a FLIR camera, right, is apparently if somebody's installed like a secret camera, I know this is getting a bit into fantasy land here, but this is quite interesting. If somebody's installed a secret camera or like a listening device into your room, like even if it's above a ceiling tile or something, if you're looking around the room, you'll see the heat glow from it, because obviously all electrical things give off a bit of heat, so you'll be able to see them with the FLIR. But yeah, there's loads of uses for these. I mean, yeah, I'll turn the Night Fox on so you can see that, but as that's a 4x zoom monocular, I've done videos on the Night Fox. What I will do, were they just infrared ones, JBO? Were they a bit like this? I obviously never bought any special editions from Call of Duty, but I wonder what type they were. I assume, because the Night Fox I've got, there's a couple of different Night Fox models now. I don't know if they still do this one, but you can buy other companies that do equivalents of this particular model. And these are pretty damn good for the price. If you just want night vision for under £100, this is excellent. But it's not, you know, nowhere close to military grade, but this is good. I do like it. Right, let me put the batteries in, and then I will demonstrate this one for you on the camera. Right. Okay, so that's the IR filter on there. So let's switch this on. Hopefully the battery still has some charge in them. Yeah, good they do. Night Fox ATR. Right, okay. Let's see, what can we see? Now, you're probably not going to see very well through here. The issue being that, I'll try holding it up, that because it's a zoom monocular, it's probably too far zoomed in. I'll just, so you can see that you're seeing stuff through it. But how these work, I don't know if it will show up on the webcam. It has the IR illuminator. Ah, the webcam can partially see IR. That's interesting. So that's an IR illuminator. You basically can barely see that with your eye. And what this does is it's basically a flashlight that only the devices can see. Yeah, so how these work is you have the IR illuminator, and then it's basically like, see where, because you can actually see that and you can't see that in person. That's how these work. They shine a light out, and the night vision can see that IR light, which the human eye can't see, but the webcam can partially see it, which is the interesting thing. I've got videos of using this one at night, and this is pretty damn good for the price range. But obviously, compared to the FLIR, this is like baby night vision kind of thing. But I assume the Call of Duty one, JBO, used some system similar to this, where it probably could see IR, and it might amplify existing light a bit anyway. So you just have a bigger spectrum of light it can tap into. No, this isn't a rangefinder, Iron Man. This is what you'd call a Gen 0 night vision monocular. So, as I said, it works using IR, and it lets you see about 100 yards. If there's light sources further away, you can still see further. But the illuminator on there goes about 100 yards. It's not a rangefinder, it's just an IR monocular. You get the binocular ones, but then they're obviously bigger. This is just the one for one eye. So what you do, you know, is like look for it like that, and then you can see things, you know, at a distance. It works like a regular binocular. Obviously, it's a night vision one. This one was about £100 when I got it, and they're cheaper than that now. As I said, the FLIR is much better, but I was saying for people who want just night vision on a budget, something like this, you'll get more fun out of than the FLIR. But the FLIR is obviously way better if you've got the money to spend and you're sort of more into the military-style hardware applications of a FLIR. No, Iron Man, it's 200 grams. or like 250 grams at max. So like no weight at all. This weighs probably 4 times as much as the FLIR does. Anyway, if I missed, yeah, that was what I was just saying. PC rang, sorry, earlier, because people were asking me about different types of night vision, so I was showing the FLIR and this one. But yeah, no, the FLIR doesn't have a tripod mount, unfortunately. That's the only thing I think it could do with, to be honest, Iron Man. It's probably easy enough to rig it up somehow to sit on a tripod. But by default, it just has a lanyard and that it, because it's mostly just used for spotting and stuff like that. This one has a tripod mount because it's really shaky, blurry footage if you don't use a tripod with it. The FLIR isn't actually too unstabilized. Yeah, JBO, it's just because that was my guess, just because infrared is the way you can do night vision quite cheap and still have it work. In World War II, I might have a picture of this in my book. Hang on. I reckon I might, in this book, be able to show you how like small they've got these, because the first type of night vision was called it's basically where you use the you know, like IR illuminator with it. But I think there's a bit in here showing the like German World War II ones, or like the M3 carbine. Oh, look at that rifle there, just out of coincidence. Yeah, that's exactly it, the Vampire. But I can't spot that easily now. But what will be in here will be the M3 carbine anyway. Yeah, so there we go. There's an M3 carbine. So to give you some idea, that's how massive they used to have those scopes. And you'd have a battery pack as well. But yeah, you'd have a massive scope with a massive thing, which that would show, you know, and that, all that bulk and weight has now been reduced thanks to modern technology down to that size. So that's why I was saying, when people were saying earlier about that Soviet night vision, don't bother buying that stuff, because there's more that's going to go wrong with it for that Gen Zero stuff. Just buy a modern thing that can put an SD card in and take photos. The FLIR, right, Iron Man? So the FLIR, it's specified 100 yards on the packet, and it definitely can do that. But they've undersold it rather than oversold it, which is what I like. So it's going to depend how strong the heat source is and how cold it is outside. The hotter something is, the easier the FLIR can see it. And the colder it is outside, the easier the FLIR can see it, because it's, you know, a greater difference between temperature ranges. So I found earlier, I could see planes that were flying through the sky over a mile away on it. You'd still see the heat signature from it. So if something's hot enough, you can see it from a bloody long way away on the FLIR. With people, probably a couple of 100 yards. If it was winter and like minus temperatures out, you might see a person, as long as there's not loads of obstruction between you and them. You might see them maybe a mile, I don't know. But that was from World War II, JBO, and Korean War. It was, they used that in the Pacific. The M3 carbine was mostly used on bases, though. I think they used it for perimeter defense at night, and it did kill lots and lots of Japanese soldiers. Because I think the main thing was when the guy with the IR scope spotted somebody, you know, they would shoot a flare up and then they'd all open up with machine guns. But that was the point of it, was just, yeah, you can see loads of foxes with stuff like this as well. There's a fox in the footage I filmed yesterday of the FLIR, because it was howling, and then I just, you know, tracked it down from the noise and then found it was a FLIR. Monocular, but basically PC Dragon, yeah, thermo monocular, but yeah. You're exactly right there, just monocular, not binocular. But yeah. How it works, obviously, it sees heat rather than light, and you look through that end, turn it on, and yeah, it's got a bit of zoom, quite a narrow field of view. But then yeah, if it's warm, this can see it. But yeah, it's amazing how night vision has come down in size and weight and everything now. What was interesting is Hype was showing me on Discord that the old massive thermal FLIR stuff, like, you know, when it used to be vehicle mounted, you'd get something that's probably the size of a modern computer case, you know, that was probably less powerful than one of these in terms of how far it could see. Oh, because of the electric current going through, Daniel. Good idea. I'll have to try that at some point. Yeah, no, that's cool, PC Dragon. Yeah. But yeah, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? But it's just interesting with this stuff when it starts to become, you know, affordable on the civilian market. Because I was saying the weird thing we have in the UK is because there's not a massive hunting sort of gun culture here, obviously, compared to the US. Nowhere's going to be compared to the US, but we certainly don't have as much as some countries. I was saying earlier, it's much harder to get night vision equipment, and FLIR is one of the few companies that seems to actually sell this kind of stuff over here and still tries to be competitive on the price of it, where the problem is a lot of other companies don't, you know, sell it at all. But yeah, it makes sense, because I was saying earlier, wasn't I, that you know, you can see electric things generate heat, so you can see when stuff's plugged in or on. So yeah, if there's a dummy camera and it's got no wiring in it. Although saying that, if it's one of those dummy cameras that has the battery in it with like a light to make it look real, it'd still look, wouldn't it, to some degree like it's on. Right, fish you'd struggle with, Iron Man, just simply because when you're looking into water, it's a bit like looking into glass. If they're close enough to the surface, you might be able to see them, but otherwise I think the water would mask them from the FLIR. But in terms of birds, there's some birds on the things. I didn't get a bird nest, though, but yesterday I got a mouse, a rat, or a shrew or something. I got something like that big in the bush using it. And that was because I could hear a rustling, you know, and it was cold enough out. Put the FLIR down, scanned it with the different temperature settings until I saw the thing, then looked at it and you could see the little ears and the tail. Yeah, there is one JBO. It's from a few weeks ago when I got the PC. If you just search the new PC or something, you'll find it. I got mine off of eBay, Memulus, but I haven't seen them on there for years, so I'm not really sure, I'm afraid. Something like a Mora random AI or even a Mora knockoff. Let me show you mine. I've got a Mora as well, but you get these. Oh, it's Umarex, the same thing as the air guns. I only just noticed that. But, you know, like one of these. You can buy these sometimes for a few pounds. So for a survival knife, brilliant for that. Yeah, you can get much better, fancy knives than this, but you want something as a survival knife, this would do. But yeah, one of the main appeals of these. Don't mind, pick that back up. One of the main appeals of it, Iron Man, as it says on the, you know, like it shows you on the back there with how they work, is, so yeah, you can see on that one, there's actually two people sat there, but obviously the fire glows brighter because it's, fire is hotter than them. So it's always relative to what temperatures are around it, but yeah. Where the one out as the guy with the balaclava on stay safe, the whole point of that is because apparently a really good use of FLIRs is, say you have a farm or something, and you're worried about people trespassing, and it's dark, even if somebody was walking through near pitch black conditions or pitch black conditions with camo on, if you get a FLIR out and just scan, you know, they will just glow and stand out. Yeah, that's what they have the boat ones for as well, because if there's a warm person in the water, you know, even if they're rapidly losing body heat, they will glow in the water. And also, yeah, if you had it on a helicopter or whatever, there's somebody who's fallen over in the bushes somewhere, you can see them. Well, it's very low resolution, PC Dragon, but you can make out what you're looking at. So the resolution is 480p on the actual display, but if you record videos, it's 240p with it. So obviously, yeah, it's low resolution. You have to pay a lot more for the higher end FLIR cameras, for the ones that start getting up to like 720 or 1080p resolution. No, Chris, it didn't. I haven't seen any comments from you this evening, I'm afraid. Cheers, Mimulus. Appreciate that. Yeah, well, I'm just trying to remember what I was saying about the FLIR now. I don't know, Iron Man. I've not tried it. I wouldn't think so, because glass, you can't see through glass with it. If you shine it at a mirror, there's videos where people demonstrate this, where they just hold a panel of glass in front of them, and the glass is always one solid color, so you can hide behind glass from them. Yeah, on about the resolutions, but the thing is, you can still see well enough. If somebody was coming down the path, you would know. The only disadvantage to the cheap FLIRs like this compared to the really expensive FLIRs, you'll work out an object's around at the same sort of distance. You just won't be able to work out what it is until it gets closer with this one. With the higher resolution displays, you can obviously, see what they are more easily. There's videos where people demonstrate this, where they get like 4 different grades of the FLIRs. They put them next to each other. I think there's one on a model helicopter, or like a little, drone thing. The guy's flying it around. And in the video, he's going like, oh, look, you can see this thing from this distance, which you can't on the others. But you can even see it on the cheapest one there. You just can't make out what it is. But yeah, don't get me wrong. The more expensive ones are better. But for example, the one that's marginally better than this one is like £1.5 to £2,000 RRP. And I said this one's like £500, £600, £700 RRP. So in terms of you get what you pay for, at the moment, the low-end ones are the only ones worth buying, in my opinion. Oh, that's cool, Chris, yeah. I have no interest in MREs, Philip. Or filling, sorry. Oh, that did show, did it, Mike? I didn't see it at all on my screen. But again, mine's stuck on that chat thing I was saying earlier, and YouTube won't let me change it off. So if Mike's on live chat, that might be why, because I think YouTube's got me stuck on top chat and it won't let me click to change it. So it could be that as well. But yeah, FLIRs and thermal cameras are really interesting, Iron Man. But again, when I end up doing my proper review of it, I'll wait till I've had it a bit longer to do a proper review of it. I do want to sum up some of the more negative sides of it, because the issue is a lot of reviewers with them on YouTube go on and on about all the good things a FLIR can do, and yeah, it can do loads of good things, but they'll just like not include any bad points, and there are bad points to it, or at least things to consider. But yeah, overall, I do really like it. I'll have to look it up. Feeling good. Oh, that one. Yeah, it's all right. I prefer SS Leto, Partisan Summer one, but I like a lot of those old Soviet and Russian camos. All right, cool. Yeah, it is amazing, like I was saying, if you look at those massive old thermal cameras that they used to have in there, how they've come down to a size like this now, probably even smaller. Yeah, they have come down smaller, saying that, because I was looking at one on Amazon earlier, and I was going to buy it because I've got this. And you had, a bit this sort of size, like the top section for the monocular, and then you just had like an IR torch thing on the side. I've got an IR torch somewhere, hang on. There you go, that's my IR torch. So you had like an IR torch like that on the side. It might have been a bit bigger than that one, but it was like the entire device was, like the size of a rifle scope. It was even smaller than this thing. So it's amazing how small they've made these things now. The other good thing of this, obviously, and this would apply to most NVGs as well, because most light amplification goggles also see infrared, so you can use an illuminator, is you don't have to use the onboard one if you want to save battery, or if you've got a brighter one. Where I bought that flashlight off a mic, I'll show you the flashlight actually. I've not got the IR thing in it at the moment though, but with this one, as I was saying, you've got about 100, this isn't the FLIR, this is the other thing. You've got about 100 yards range on this, right? in terms of how far you can see. If I use this torch from Mike that I bought, the zoomable one, and I put the IR bulb in this, I can see about probably 300 yards with it quite easily. Like in terms of how far this will throw an IR light out, and that you can see it with this. The thing is with this, it's not autofocus, so you do have to, focus this bit to your eye and then focus the other bit like you would with a monocular. But the FLIR has a fixed focus. I'm not sure if I said earlier to the people who were watching, but yeah, the with the FLIR, what are you on about? Just ink. The problem with the yeah, right, JBO. I'll let you know what you can do now, although none of this is perfect. In terms of hiding from FLIRs, it's pretty hard. Glass. If you hold glass in front of you, for whatever reason, because FLIRs see glass differently than the eye would, because light, although light goes through it, they don't see light, right? So they'll see the temperature of the glass. So if you hide behind glass, you can't be seen on the FLIR. If it's a really hot day and you hide next to like a warm heat source, it's much harder for a FLIR operator to see you, because obviously if the background temperature is very close to the human body heat temperature, you're not going to stand out. So if ever you're trying to hide and you think somebody's got a thermal optic, make sure you always try and find the warmest place to lay down. Of course, if it's too hot, you'll appear a different color than the heat source. But if it's a hot sunny day, the best thing is probably just laying prone and hoping that, nobody catches you in that sense. Yeah, like what PC Dragon just said. Yeah, if you're low to the ground and it's a hot day, there's a lot less where they can catch you. Putting objects obviously in front between you and the FLIR will work, because the FLIR can't see through things magically. If there's a very hot heat source in front of a thin wall, it can see it that way, but the FLIR can't see, magically through objects. So there are ways of defeating a FLIR, but it's much harder than just simply a case of, you can wear camo and then nobody can see you. That's interesting, PC, but yeah, it still won't stop the heat completely though, will it? So you can put more layers on and that will potentially hide your heat, but when I've seen videos of people try it, the FLIR can still see them. It's just harder for it to see them. And that'd be cool, Harry. I've got a piano over there and I've got some other instruments. Piano's the closest one I can come to playing properly. No, but I imagine the foil emergency blanket would still look funny to the FLIR. So if somebody was wearing a foil emergency blanket and laid down, I reckon you'd still know something was up if the FLIR rolls over it. Morning, that one guy. I'm going off, I'm afraid, in a minute. That's an interesting thing, PC Dragon. Yeah, I suppose that's a good idea, isn't it? If you had like a rucksack or something, if you laid down, you put the rucksack in front of you, that might work quite well, because the bulk of the rucksack, especially if it's like one of those camo ones, so somebody can't see it easily with their naked eye as well, the rucksack might just appear like a rock on the FLIR, and then it would be the same temperature as all the surroundings. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could try. And there's lots of things where militaries have tried to develop stuff that gets around it and all this, and they've never done it. Because the one that I found funny was where there was a big thing, and if I've got that turned off here, I just don't want to waste the battery. I can recharge it, I still don't want to waste it. The issue is with the a lot of stuff is like where they come up with all this stuff, and then it's like adding more stuff to more stuff, like like camo that has a foil liner in it and everything else, where it becomes really expensive, impractical uniforms for everyday use, just because it makes it harder to be seen on a FLIR. Well, like I've said with all masks, that one guy, and I'll keep saying it again, if I find one for a good price, of course I'll do a video on it, otherwise no. The problem I've had with more modern Russian masks is lots of Russian sellers just want to charge you like extortionate amounts of postage, right? where lots of them want somewhere in the region of £30 to £50. So that's like $30 to $50 sort of range for just basically shipping it to England, plus the price of the mask. They are taking the piss at that price, right? I can buy from pretty much anywhere in Europe normally and get postage for a £5 or less, right? And that can be coming very quickly. There's a lot of Russian sellers that are just like, oh no, it costs as much. No, it doesn't. They're just trying to make a massive profit on the postage. No, JBO, I don't think it will. What it will do is, for a thing like this, right, that will make you much harder to see with one of these, because this is shortwave infrared. I'll have to look for that check jacket, which has that really cool pattern with this, but because the FLIR physically sees the heat, not the like inks or whatever, you'll definitely show through it. No idea, adjusting off the top of my head. Yeah, that's why PC Dragon, I really like the thing the US did in the Gulf War, where they actually developed the night vision over camo, and it was really simple. What it was is they did a grid pattern with basically interference on it, and the idea was they looked at how Soviet night vision worked, and then they did like a fake overlay for Soviet night vision. And it's amazing what it was, because it's basically you wore something, so if somebody looked for a night vision scope, they thought it was interference on their screen. That's really good. It's thinking outside the box. Now it's, the complete opposite. Let's add more stuff to more stuff to more stuff to more stuff. That will fix it. Yeah, that'd be very good, Mike. I definitely need to do FLIR videos of other people, because that gives you a lot more chance to test it. But yeah, before I go, because I'm going off in a minute, so thanks everybody who's viewed the streams. Thanks for the donations earlier as well. Let me find you. Right, the name of the camouflage pattern. Okay, search desert night camouflage. I can link to the Wikipedia page if you want, but this is it. Cheers, that one, go. If you look at the actual picture, it is literally a grid with interference on it. And that worked amazingly well, because they knew what the Soviet, like the Iraqis had Soviet night vision equipment. They knew what the operator would see if he looked through it. So the camo is just designed to look like interference on the screen. Cheers, Joseph. But yeah. So that camo would still work against something like this quite well, because this works on the same principle. It obviously look better than the old Soviet gear stuff, because it's more modern, but it's that idea that you can fool IR night vision quite easily. Of course, that would do nothing to a FLIR, something like that, because the FLIR will just simply see the heat of the person wearing the clothes. But that desert night stuff was incredible for when they brought it out, because rather than, going, okay, we need to do all this, do all that, just make a fake thing that looks like noise on the screen of the thing. So if somebody's looking over, they just think it's their night vision being a bit funky rather than anything interesting. In the Falklands War, they probably had starlight scopes. I don't know. You have to look at when starlight scopes came out. I think the starlight scopes were around Vietnam, so they probably would have done. But yeah, Gen 1 night vision was like the massive starlight scopes they had on the SLRs and the Americans had on the M16s. Yeah, they probably did, because obviously if they had it, they'd have used it. But it was the fairly old Gen 1 night vision, which is still a lot better than Gen 0 night vision. But Gen 1 night vision is pretty big. It makes noise. And yeah, but there's videos you can find on YouTube, just before I go off, just saying, if you're interested in like the green style night vision, light amplification stuff, you can see the stuff between Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3, and there's some documentaries on it as well. And a lot of those show you how the devices got smaller and they could amplify more light. So, it became more and more obvious what you were looking at, to the stage you see almost like in Gen 3 night vision, you get somewhere it's like, like 1080p HD when you look through it on the things. But the disadvantage of green night vision is light amplification. Somebody in camo is really hard to see on green night vision, because obviously you've only got one color. If they're wearing camo, you've got like no contrast for that one color, so they blend in really, really well. Don't know if I can make my own anti-night vision suits. That might be a bit complicated, but anyway, it's been a good stream, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to take the FLIR outside now and see if I can find those rats my mum was complaining about. Probably won't, probably because they're not there. But yeah, I've enjoyed this stream. Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks to the person that donated again. I think that was Mimalicious, wasn't it? Even though I did ask him if he wanted a Discord invite last time, and he's still not given me a Discord ID, so he can have one if he wants one anyway. But yeah, see everybody. Good night, and yeah, I want to play with my FLIR some more. That's not a euphemism. I actually want to play with my FLIR.